patrickcc. Why comedy movies died by patrickcc. Talk to me, Patrick.
Comedy movies have been dead for the past decade, which is especially depressing because Hollywood stopped making funny movies when we needed them the most. The past 10 years have been some of the most chaotic and divided times in modern history. Politics taking over literally everything, cost of living skyrocketing, and people spending hours online doom scrolling an infinite feed of bad news. If there was ever a time we needed to collectively sit in a theater and just laugh at something stupid, it's now. But it wasn't always like this. During the 90s and early 2000s, we were getting multiple hilarious comedy films each year. I bet you forgot how stacked the year 2004 was. Anchorman, White Chicks, Dodgeball, Mean Girls, Napoleon Dynamite, all in the same year. We got
whoa, White, yeah, that was true, it did. White Chicks is such a goated movie.
Be as funny as any of these in the past 5 years, we would be grateful. But this isn't even just an opinion. The data doesn't lie. 2016 was the official point of no return for comedy films. In that year, comedies made up about 12% of the domestic box office and pulled in $1.1 billion. Just 1 year later, their share was nearly cut in half to 7%, with gross revenue dropping to $790 million, making it the single biggest one-year collapse on record. After that, it was all downhill. 2022 was particularly abysmal, with the entire genre of comedy grossing $259 million. That is an entire year of movies that gross less than just what The Hangover did in 2009. Wow. So what happened to comedy films after 2016? Well, there are a few things we have to consider, but it all boils down to one major reason. And today we are going to discuss everything, starting with how Hollywood lost the creativity that we used to see in small, medium, and high-budget comedy films. The beauty of comedy is that it's boundaryless. Unlike drama, kind of action, or even horror, it doesn't really need to play by any established rules. A comedy can start with literally anything. A talking animal, a man stuck in a time loop, a dodgeball tournament, a pair of clueless detectives, and turn it into a creative masterpiece. The premise doesn't have to be realistic. It doesn't even have to make any sense. As long as it's funny, it works. Take Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, for example. What a unique concept. A private investigator who specializes in finding lost animals and solves crimes through pure chaos and speaks almost entirely in one-liners. At one point, he's literally crawling out of a rhino's ass.
This shit is so fucking crazy.
And again, Jim Carrey was kind of a cheat code for 90s comedies. Films like The Mask and Liar Liar showcased his ability to immerse us into the most ridiculous plots imaginable. Carrey had this cartoon-like elasticity. He could bend and contort his face and body, which made even the dumbest scenes or dialogue unforgettable. Or what about Dumb and Dumb?
Bro, Jim Carrey is such a goat, bro.
Which is literally just a movie about two dumbasses.
You go straight ahead and you make the left over the bridge.
That's a lovely accent you have. New Jersey?
Austria.
Austria? Well then, good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
I always found myself gravitating towards films that had insanely unrealistic plots. The kind of movies where the world they're in doesn't follow society's rules or any rules at all. When there's no logic to be broken and the possibilities are endless. Like, literally anything can happen. The Hangover took this concept to the absolute maximum. At its core, it's just a bachelor party gone wrong. Something that in real life might just end with a bad hangover and some embarrassing photos. But in this world, it spirals into a mystery involving a missing groom, a stolen police car, a baby in the closet, Mike Tyson's tiger, and a mob boss named Mr. Chow. It's an escalating chain of ridiculous events where
that's just like Superbad. Superbad was just a bunch of bullshit. Like, bro,
every new reveal is crazier than the last, and because the movie establishes early on that anything can happen, you never question it. In Anchorman, the 1970s news industry is less about journalism and more about ego wars that escalate into literal deadly combat between rival news teams, compete with tridents, horses, and someone catching on fire, and then casually returning to work like nothing happened. Anchorman is the perfect example of a comedy movie that dedicates almost all of its dialogue to do one very important thing: make you laugh.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
The amount of quotable lines in this movie is unprecedented. It was even unique back then, but now, I mean, maybe you'd be lucky to get 1 or 2 quotables in a comedy movie. Dodgeball is about a Las Vegas dodgeball tournament for fully grown adults with a prize big enough to save.
I knew I seen this nigga before. Okay, y'all. So I watched Barbarian for the first time ever. Like 3 days ago, I watched Barbarian for the first time ever. And I saw this nigga right here, and I was like, I've seen this nigga before. He was in Barbarian. Is his name Justin Lin, right? Justin Lin?
A failing gym.
If you can dodge a wrench,
Or Justin Long?
you can dodge a ball.
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
They get their asses handed to them by a bunch of Girl Scouts, experiment with some interesting uniform styles, and Ben Stiller is in this film doing what he does best, playing the role of the villain. And what about Ted, which asks you to accept, without hesitation, that a man's childhood teddy bear came to life, grew up with him, drinks, does drugs, and gets into full-blown relationships. And these are just some of the ultra-mainstream movies. Don't even get me started on Pootie Tang and Don't Be a Menace to South.
Don't be a fucking menace. Oh my god. This is perhaps one of my favorite comedy movies of all time. The Wayans brothers were on some shit. All of like my favorite comedy movies have the Wayans brothers in it. White Chicks, Wayans brothers. Scary Movie, Wayans brothers. Don't Be a Menace, Wayans brothers. Little Man, Wayans brothers. They're not all of my favorite comedy movies, but those are some of my absolute favorite comedy movies. And the Wayans brothers are in all of those.
Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
Specifically Marlon and Sean.
These are movies that are so absurd that you have to make sure you watch them with people who have the same humor as you, otherwise they'll look at you like you're crazy. There are very few comedies today that keep the spirit
I'll suck your dick for a cheeseburger.
of this insane absurdity. However, Cocaine Bear is one that does come to mind, which is about an American black bear that eats a stash of cocaine that fell out of a plane smuggling drugs. The bear becomes highly aggressive, attacking and trying to kill hikers in its way. While the movie is just alright, I do respect the dumbness of this idea. It's not trying to be relatable, it's just leaning fully into a ridiculous premise and committing to the bit, and that's something we don't nearly get enough of anymore.
No.
Most modern comedy movies take the safe route. We get movies like Vacation Friends 2, a generic sequel
Cocaine Bear is based on a real story?
with the same recycled concept of a holiday gone wrong.
Isn't this
and
the Peacockers or some shit like
being
that?
stuck surrounded by people with clashing personalities. Or The Man from Toronto, another Kevin Hart buddy comedy that is so formulaic it feels like it was designed for people to turn on and then fall asleep while the ads run. Comedies rarely go for absurd humor these days because, well, it's really difficult. Too
Sensitive. Bro, I'm telling you, I say this all the time. White Chicks is probably one of the funniest comedy movies of all time. But 90% of the jokes that's said in that movie would not fly in today's society, bro. It would not fly in today's society whatsoever.
open up
Keke Palmer shit. Oh, the one with SZA? The movie with SZA? Yeah, that movie was kind of funny too.
of a canvas can make it hard
But I thought honestly, like completely honestly, I think Keke Palmer was funny as fuck in that movie. SZA, she was alright. She was alright. Obviously, this is probably like, it was her first film, so I'm not gonna be too hard on her. But I think Keke Palmer was funny. Keke Palmer was funny as shit in that movie. And SZA was kind of just like, she there, but she not really like too impacting, if that makes sense.
harder to build a story with structure. The freedom to
Which
do
could also be a problem with writing. Like, again, I'm not trying to throw shade at SZA's way at all.
anything also means there's nothing stopping you from literally losing the plot, which is kind of what happened in Cocaine Bear. However, other great
Friday. I almost forgot about one of the greatest movies of all time in general. Fucking Friday.
comedy films in the past started with a lightly realistic framework, which only enhanced the absolute farce that took place during the film. Like Super Troopers, a movie about morally questionable cops, Sure, that sounds realistic, until you realize these highway patrol officers spend more time pranking civilians and messing with each other than actually enforcing the law. They behave in a way that doesn't even come close to representing reality, and none of them would still have jobs after these antics. But at the same time, it does make you think some cops might actually act like that in private. Or the 40-year-old virgin. Sure, it's very possible that a man could abstain.
You know what other movies I like? Click. Click is a very good fucking movie.
Or just
one of my favorite comedies of all time too. Oh my god, I can't believe I almost forgot about this one. Hitch. I know niggas may not like Hitch, but I fucking love Hitch. That is one of the funniest movies to me, bro. I love Hitch. It was like a rom-com, but it wasn't like a bad rom-com. It was a funny rom-com.
Not have the opportunity to have sex for half their life. And if you found that out, you might think, wow, that's interesting, and then move on. But the movie takes that basic believable premise and pushes it into pure absurdity. It then turns into all of Steve Carell's co-workers dedicating their entire lives to getting him laid. And of course, stepbrothers. I have a stepbrother, tons of people have step siblings. It's an extremely relatable experience, navigating new family dynamics and sharing space with someone you didn't grow up with. But in the film, nothing about that is relatable. We have two 40-year-old men with no jobs that spend their days building bunk beds, hanging out in a treehouse, and fighting like toddlers.
I didn't touch a drum set, okay?
I witnessed with my eyes your testicles touching my drum set.
All right, that's it!
A modern version of this absurd but also still upholding a slight realistic framework.
Nigga, is this fucking that football player? What's that nigga name, bro? What's that nigga name, bro? I can't even remember his name. Marshawn Lynch. Is this Marshawn Lynch? Is this Marshawn Lynch for real?
Is the teen comedy movie Bottoms, which is basically just another silly high school movie, but through the lens of two queer students. The high school jocks in the film wear their full padded football uniforms 24/7, in class, at parties, while sleeping. It's obviously unrealistic, but it's a funny way of critiquing jocks that dedicate their entire personality to the sport they play. Oh, and a nice touch was throwing one of them in a cage in the classroom for absolutely no reason.
Try telling Dimitri Walker that. Little mother came the first week and I ain't seen him since.
Dimitri Walker committed suicide the first week of school, Mr. G.
Sure he did.
The reason
bro. Sure he did. Nah, that's crazy.
And why most comedy films today...
Burn Book? I think I've actually seen this. I think I actually saw this, but it wasn't that good.
feel like they are missing that ultra creative touch, at least according to legendary director and producer Judd Apatow, is because comedy writers these days are just less funny. He said, when you make the list of the best movies of all time, you're always going to put Airplane on it. And if movies like that aren't being made right now, it's because people aren't smart enough and funny enough to make them. Okay, so who would be smart enough or funny enough to write a modern masterpiece? Well, I've noticed that comedy films today seem to be missing actual comedians. And that's because some of the funniest and most popular comedians today are opting for something much easier and more profitable: podcasts. Before podcasts became wildly popular, comedians had essentially three routes to earn a career: get a job on Saturday Night Live, secure a TV sitcom, or get a role in a comedy film. The mainstream visibility earned through these avenues allowed comedians to fill seats in comedy clubs across the country. The vast majority of the comedians responsible for your favorite comedy films were originally platformed by SNL. Eddie Murphy, Bill Murray, Will Ferrell, Mike Myers, Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, Kristen Wiig. I could keep going on and on. It was much easier for a current or ex-SNL cast member to pitch a movie to a major studio because they have already proven to the industry that they are funny. So when these comedians began to see success in films in the 2000s, they...
Whatever happened to my boy Paul Blart, bro? I don't be seeing him in anything anymore, bro.
assisted in casting other comedy actors with a ton of potential. Actors like Jonah Hill, Zach Galifianakis, Paul Rudd, Vince Vaughn, Melissa McCarthy, Steve Carell.
We're calling Melissa McCarthy funny?
Zach Galifianakis, Paul Rudd, Vince Vaughn, Melissa McCarthy.
We're calling Melissa McCarthy funny? You know what? You know what? I have laughed at something that Melissa McCarthy has done. At least maybe once. I'm thinking of a different woman. Y'all want to know who I'm thinking of? I'm going to show you who I'm thinking of. Do you guys want to know who the most unfunny person is that I can think of at the moment? Right? I have genuinely not seen a more unfunny person than this person I'm about to show y'all. I have not laughed at a single joke that this person has told. I have not laughed at a single thing that this person has done in a movie or a show. And I kid you not, I don't. And it's not because I'm forcing myself to not laugh. It's just because I have not found this person funny ever. The most painfully unfunny person I've ever seen. She has got to be the most unfunny person ever. I'm not laughed at a single joke that this girl has ever told. I'm not laughed at a single thing that she's ever done in a movie. And I just...
McCarthy, Steve Carell were able to skip over SNL and go straight to the big screen. And it sounds painfully obvious to say, but I think a large reason why older films were funnier was because the funniest people at the time were either writing or acting in these comedy films. Today, a comedian doesn't need SNL or a comedy film to determine their potential for a comedy career. All they need is a podcast. If you can be funny for an hour a week behind a microphone, clip the best moments for TikTok or Instagram, and build a loyal audience online, you can skip Hollywood entirely and still sell out theaters on a national tour. I'm sure Theo Von could assist in writing or acting in a really funny movie if he tried, but why would he? With podcast ad revenue, Patreon subscribers, and live show ticket sales selling out all over the country, a lot of comics are making more money than they ever could from starring in a studio comedy without months of shooting, studio interference, or the risk of a box office flop. This shift is a huge win for independent comedians, but a huge loss for comedy films. The performers who would have once been fighting,
because it's the same thing with YouTubers these days, like Streamer University, one of my absolute favorites, DreamCon and the Berlizzi Ball. These are YouTuber niggas that decided they wanted to make a convention or make a little ball, and niggas pop out, they pay for it, and it sells out every time. I mean, yo, I have not been able to go to DreamCon or the Berlizzi Ball because I couldn't get tickets in time. But now I also just choose not to go because I would like to have my first ever appearance at DreamCon or the Berlizzi Ball to be as a guest, not as a fan or a supporter. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
To star in the next Step Brothers or The Hangover are now trying to get a spot on the Joe Rogan podcast or be interviewed by Theo Von. They don't need to spend years chasing a studio deal, and they don't have to share their earnings with a production company. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, we can now hear from our favorite funny person every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, without waiting years for them to land a movie role. But the trade-off is that we don't get these larger-than-life, culturally defining moments that comedy films used to create. Nobody is quoting a podcast episode 15 years later the way people still quote Anchorman or Superbad. Well, except this one.
My mother's very pretty.
She's a beautiful woman.
Unlike your cross-eyed mother.
Well, you don't have to.
I'm not Bobby Mother. I'm Bobby Mom.
And another big reason behind the decline of comedy.
This nigga is so racist, but it'd be so funny, bro.
Films, as predictable as it is, I know, but we have to talk about cancel culture because there are some components of this that make it a real factor. I think it goes without saying that most jokes these days receive backlash when they touch on political or social issues, but comedians have incorporated political undertones in their work for decades. Stand-up legends like Richard Pryor and George Carlin have long pushed boundaries and tackled sensitive topics like race, war, religion, gender, and government policies. The biggest difference is that in early earlier eras, their controversial material was more likely to be seen as a part of their artistic persona rather than something to be taken literally. The same thing went for comedy movies.
Oh
People
my
generally
gosh.
understood that joke.
Yo. Gold member? Austin Powers gold member? Hell yeah.
Jokes were just jokes, with no intention of doing any actual harm. Then again, societal norms just simply change, and a lot of people today feel that making jokes or making light of very sensitive issues or topics is just not okay. We should not be joking about these things. The 1981 comedy movie Porky's involves male characters spying on naked female students.
That wouldn't fly in a movie today, bro. Promise you it wouldn't.
This was then treated as harmless fun, but now recognized as harassment. The 1984 comedy Revenge of the Nerds includes a disturbing scene where a character disguises himself to trick a woman into sex, something that would now be recognized as rape, not humor. The 1994 film Ace Ventura: Pet Detective has been widely criticized in recent years for the way it mocks a trans woman. The 2001 comedy Shallow.
Bro, here's my thing, right? Here's what I don't like. These movies were made in a different time period where these jokes were okay. To criticize a movie through the lens of 2025 makes no fucking sense. To criticize an old ass movie through the lens of 2025 just makes no sense. What are they gonna do? They can't go back, rewind time, change the movie so that it would be okay for 2025. Because back when they made it, the jokes were okay. That shit doesn't make sense to me. That's like when they added the warning at the beginning of Rush Hour. Again, another goated movie. They added the warning again at the beginning of Rush Hour, talking about there might be some racial undertones in this movie. If you don't like it, then maybe you shouldn't watch it. Nigga! That already makes me want to click off the fucking movie. Not because I'm gonna be offended, but because, like, bro, that movie is how old? You should know what that shit is about at this point.
Hal centers on the idea that an overweight woman is only seen as attractive through hypnosis, promoting harmful stereotypes. 2007's Norbit has been criticized for its offensive portrayal of black women. The character Rasputia is depicted as an aggressive, loud, violent, hypersexual, and domineering woman. And
come on. Are we really looking at Rasputia as an example of black women, bro? Come on. Even if they put her in a negative light, it's a joke. Nigga, Rasputia. You know what? I was about to crash out. Rasputia is literally Eddie Murphy CGI'd on a big girl body. Rasputia is literally Eddie Murphy. Rasputia is literally Eddie Murphy. That's like saying, oh, I don't like how Medea portrays an aggressive black woman who always wants to fight people. You know why they don't say that? Because everybody knows it's Tyler Perry in a fucking wig.
there's even a scene in Step Brothers that makes unapologetic jokes about white supremacy and Nazism. Chances are, if you rewatched any comedy film you loved in the past, you'll find a joke that either aged poorly or maybe you just don't think it's funny anymore. That's normal. And it may seem like these jokes or premises were okay in the past and people didn't care as much, but that's not necessarily the case either. They just did not have the platform to express their opinions. Social media has given literally anyone and everyone a platform to express immediate feedback and criticism. Given literally anyone and everyone a platform to express.
Where the fuck is Mario Judah?
Immediate feedback and criticism, and this is a blessing and a curse. I and many other YouTubers literally benefit from this modern social media climate. We have no superiors that are controlling our opinions, deciding who we can and can't criticize, but then again, I am also providing depth, research, and nuance to the videos that I'm putting out. I'm also not trying to say any actor or movie should be canceled.
W fucking Patrick, because that is the truth. That nigga just be doing his research, bro.
platformed or lose sponsorship or business opportunities. Also, if you look at the positives, the exact opposite can happen. A movie or comedian that is overlooked by the mainstream or considered problematic could actually be really funny, and there will be online praise for it. A telltale sign is when the tomato meter from expert critics is super low, but the popcorn meter, which is fan reviews, is high. However, as we know, most...
I'm gonna be honest with you. Guilty pleasure, Fast and the Furious movies. The last good one I can say, or the last one that was actually good that I can say, was probably the 5th or 6th one. After that, they were just ass. But I still like them, bro. I don't know why.
of the problems don't come from people giving genuine, nuanced criticism, but rather those who get their fix by causing outrage. Someone can straight up sit in a theater on the night of release and live.
So, that whole reason... Oh my god, I'm sorry. That whole thing is the reason why I tell niggas, go watch movies for yourself. I think niggas who go off of critics will never enjoy a movie in a day in their life. I think you should watch a movie if you want to watch a movie, regardless what the reviews say. Because let's think about it even in a smaller spectrum, right? Let's say y'all niggas are fans of Tyrone Magnus. Let's say you guys are fans of Tyrone Magnus. Okay? And we know how he feels about these superhero movies now, right? He just never looks happy when he's reacting to a superhero movie. He says Superman is gonna be trash, which he did, and then he goes and watches it and he says it's trash, which he did. If y'all were to go off of just Tyrone Magnus's opinion, you wouldn't go watch Superman and you wouldn't have seen a great fucking film. Because even though Tyrone hated it, it was a great fucking film. You know who else didn't like it? Ben Shapiro. When I saw Ben Shapiro didn't like the movie, I said, yep, it's time to go watch that shit, bro. Because nah, bro.
Tweet how funny
Ben
a movie
Shapiro
is.
doesn't like
You'll
it.
see zero...
Yeah. Time to hit the theater, bro. Let's go now, actually.
Effort Twitter rage baiters go viral with vague tweets like, I can't believe y'all think this is funny, or this is problematic, which seems easy
Rage
to
baiter.
ignore, but it will genuinely make someone think, damn, I guess I shouldn't go see this movie, or am I a bad person for thinking this is funny? And because social media rewards outrage, this can snowball into proof that the comedian, actor, or producer is a terrible person who is somehow unworthy of ever working again. People will read critical tweets with hundreds of thousands of likes, and they might disagree with what the people are saying, but because it has so much engagement and so many likes, it makes people change their opinions, change their minds. Maybe this isn't funny. Maybe I shouldn't think this is funny. And before you know it, there is an
That's the problem with social media, in my opinion. Mob mentality. Social media is full of mob mentality. You can think something is funny, somebody says that it's not on social media and it has 1 million likes, and you're like, you know what, it's not funny. There's 8 billion people in the world, bro. 1 million doesn't even scratch the surface, bro. Come on.
all-out online war over what was meant to be a joke.
Think about look at all the views and look at how many people didn't like the video. The video has 8 million views but only 1 million likes. That means 7 other million people probably had the same thought as you. Like, this was funny, so I'm not gonna like this video because this person's saying that it wasn't funny, but I thought it was funny. You know what I'm saying? You could also chalk it up to like people just watching videos and they don't press the like button because some people actually like a video and just don't press the like button.
But this whole other wave where like now you have these people who put themselves in the oddest position of being the curators of what was kind or unkind. This was okay, but this wasn't, or I cringe when I look back at this. It's like crazy. I think those are sometimes the cringiest.
The purveyor of
what is funny or what isn't. Like comedy's a big tent.
It's ever evolving. It's not to be dictated.
Right. There's no one way to the waterfall. It's a crazy idea that does it up and say, here's how you do comedy. It's like, you know, you got slipping on a banana peel to, you know, totally odd conversations to, you know, there's a wide range of what people find.
W. Vince Vaughn, because comedy is subjective, bro. Comedy is subjective. Yes, there can be a group of people, like a majority of people that find something funny. There can also be a majority of people that find something not funny. However, comedy is literally subjective because what you find funny, I might find fucking stupid, and what I find fucking stupid, you might find funny, like Amy Schumer. I said, this is the most painfully unfunny person I've ever met. Yet, there be people in her crowd laughing at the jokes she's telling. There be people going to see her movies, laughing at the movies she's playing in. Mind you, whole time, I have not found a single thing that she's ever done to be funny.
To be funny. And it's like almost like people that would like sit and overanalyze a situation to the point of making themselves feel really good about themselves.
And while you might think all of this is just easy to ignore, it's social media, it's not real, just make the movie, right? Well, it's evident that major studios are a little hesitant to release a comedy with edgy or politically incorrect humor. However, actor Seth Rogen disagreed with this notion during an interview with Esquire magazine. The complaint that comedy is harder than it used to be is not a valid complaint. Maybe it was too easy before, and why should it be? Why shouldn't it be hard? I like that my job is hard because I'm trying to do something that requires a huge amount of resources and people's time and energy. What do you wish you could say? What do you feel has been taken from you? It's always funny when people are like, oh, they could never make the Diversity Day episode of The Office today. You can still watch it. I'm constantly meeting teenagers who love Superbad and who think it holds up, and none of them are like, how dare you have said that? And Seth does make some great points here. Studios can still make whatever they want. There's nothing stopping them, and it's not objectively harder to be funny.
It's about the money. They know if they make something that's problematic, niggas probably are not gonna see it. Or who knows, maybe if they do make something problematic, niggas are gonna go see it.
Today, it just seems like they are not being honest about what they actually think is funny, which is why these comedy movies come out with boring or sanitized humor. The reason why Superbad holds up is because it was honest about the way many teenage boys think and speak. They are rude, crass, always thinking about sex, insulting each other constantly, distracted in school, thinking about the weekends and living life like they are invincible.
You just get out of here and we'll talk about this later.
Evan, we're down 2 points.
Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
You, man.
Hey, Greg, why don't you go piss your pants again?
That was like 8 years ago.
People don't forget.
They call each other gay, sometimes even using the F slur, even though that would widely be considered homophobic and a cancelable offense these days.
I don't know. It's really messed up. Super gay.
The way they behave and talk is shocking and inappropriate, but that's what makes it funny because it is somewhat of a snapshot of reality, with the exception that like just the average teenage boy is not that funny. Now you might think this is problematic behavior, and maybe it is. So maybe the film is just not for you. But some take it one step further. They say a film like this is platforming and promoting this disgusting behavior. We are idolizing these morally bankrupt teenage boys, which will justify their bad behavior and maybe even inspire them to act in such a way. And hey, that could also be true too. But regardless of how you feel, the movie is good because it is honest. They went for it and they doubled down on it, even though it was politically incorrect. A modern version of Superbad wouldn't ever be made because they would be too afraid to offend anyone while providing a somewhat realistic depiction of a teenage boy who is gross and reckless with his words. And even if they did, they would probably add some tertiary character who steps in and tries to correct their behavior or be the voice of reason. Then again, sometimes being realistic is—
Hold on, this nigga is spitting, bro, because they really do be doing that in some of these movies. You'll come across like this character that's actually like a demon, and then they'll get reformed by one of their friends or some shit.
Not funny. Like, look at the 2020 film American Pie presents Girls Rule.
Madison Pettis? Does she still act? I think this might have been her last movie.
American Pie is supposed to be a raunchy, disgusting depiction of the primitive young adult or teenage mind. Sex, drugs, partying. It's unapologetic and incredibly stupid. This modern version was supposed to be the same thing, but from the
bro, this shit got lower views than the critics.
female perspective. Looking to spice up their love lives before graduation, 4 female high school seniors band together to harness their girl power and get what they want from the boys. Let's just compare really quick. The first clip is from the original American Pie. This is how they wrote a female innuendo.
Oh, and this one time at band camp, I stuck a flute in my pussy.
Excuse me?
What? You don't think I know how to get myself off? Hell, that's what half of band camp is. So, are we gonna screw soon? Because I'm getting kind of antsy.
Now compare that to the new American
I would have
pop.
said no.
None of us need a man to have a healthy life. I am learning that technology has given us incredible innovations in self-pleasure. And like whatever you're into, external, internal, rabbits, wands, vibrators, remote-controlled plugs, beads, and wall balls. And wall balls. Oh yeah, I have 2 in right now. It is a very specific sensation.
Maybe this new version
Oh yeah.
is funnier, and I'm just not the target demographic. So I'll ask my 20% female audience, what do you think is funnier? A girl saying, we don't need men, we have toys? Or a girl saying, I shoved a flute up it at band camp? The fear of being canceled is so apparent that studios seem to not even try to make a true comedy anymore. Some of the most highly rated comedy films in the 2020s aren't exactly praised for their straight up funny premises and jokes. Take Don't Look Up, for example. Sure, it has funny moments, but it's a satire about a planet-killing comet that's clearly a metaphor for climate change, media distraction, and problematic politics, setting up the planet for failure. Do these comments look like they are for a comedy movie? I always respect a movie that has the balls to actually show the world ending. Every disaster movie starts with the government ignoring a scientist. We really did have everything, didn't we? Damn, that made me cry. You know what other comedies are extremely popular in the 2020s? Free Guy, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Dungeons and Dragons.
That's a comedy? Guardians is a comedy?
Extremely popular in the 2020s. Free Guy, Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Dungeons and Dragons was a funny movie, I can't lie, it was fire.
Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. Do you notice anything different about these comedy movies? They are superhero movies. And don't get me wrong, they're entertaining.
I was about to say,
they're fun, but they're not comedies in the traditional sense. We get a lot of these films that are action first with humor as a seasoning, but ultimately, much like every other industry, the true reason why comedy films are not being made like they used to is because of, you guessed it, money. When it comes to movie theater ticket sales and financial performance, comedies have always been risky. While genres like adventure and action can have more of an expected success due to built-in spectacle, global appeal, and can have
hold on. Horror is number 6. Black comedy is number 9. Documentary is 10. Western 11. Concert 12. Reality 13. Damn. Educational movies don't even make a mill, bro. Oh my gosh.
More of an expected success due to built-in spectacle, global appeal, and merchandising potential, comedies rely almost entirely on the jokes landing. What one person finds hilarious, another might find confusing, offensive, or simply unfunny. Jokes often rely on shared knowledge, references, or social commentary that might not translate across different cultures or age groups. A comedy scene that relies on American pop culture might fall flat for an international audience unfamiliar with these references. And on top of that, there's typically no giant CGI battle or billion-dollar franchise name to fall back on if the audience isn't laughing. Now, back in the day, plenty of comedies were huge financial successes. Meet the Fockers, The Waterboy, Wedding Crashers, 22 Jump Street, all grossing hundreds of millions of
all these movies
dollars in the worldwide box office, whereas others that are still considered good or cult classics underperformed in the box office. Adam Sandler's Billy Madison only grossed $26 million at the box office. Dazed and Confused only earned $8 million. Grandma's Boy, $6 million. And this was at a time when people were still actively going to the theater.
Grandma's Boy? I don't think I've heard of this one.
Our last peak in movie theater ticket sales was in 2002 when 1.5 billion tickets were sold. And although these films technically made more money than their budget, film budgets typically refer to production costs only. Marketing and distribution costs, also known as P&A, print and advertising, are handled separately, and these marketing costs can be in the tens of millions. However, where these films made their real money was in DVD sales, also another thing of the past. DVDs, rentals, and cable syndication were the lifeline for comedies that didn't crush it in the theaters. A movie like Billy Madison might have been considered a moderate performer at the box office, but once it hit Blockbuster shelves and played on Comedy Central every other weekend, it became a cultural staple. Those secondary
sometimes the shit is not a hit in the theaters, but when they play it on the TV or release it on DVD, the biggest movie ever.
Secondary markets gave studios the confidence to take a chance on mid-budget comedies because even if they didn't make their money back in the theaters, there was a high probability the film would eventually find its audience later. That safety net is now gone. Ticket sales are down. Physical media sales have plummeted. Rentals are practically...
Well, it's actually going back up because people are realizing now that they don't actually own anything, so they're starting to like buy DVD players and actually go out and buy movies now.
Extinct. And while streaming might seem like a replacement, it doesn't generate anywhere near the same revenue for studios. Once a comedy film drops on Netflix or Hulu, the studio gets its licensing fee and that's it. There's no long tail of DVD sales trickling in for years, no late night TV reruns keeping the movie in circulation. There is no second life. Judd Apatow confirmed this when he said, after the last writer's strike, it felt like the studios decided not to develop movies. They used to buy a lot of scripts and they had big teams of people giving notes, and they worked for years with people in collaboration on those scripts. I feel like the studios don't buy as many scripts now. Today, every comedy has to either perform in theaters that are half empty or immediately crush on streaming, or it's a total loss. So basically, comedy films just can't work in the modern era. Comedians are choosing podcasting and stand-up over film. The toxicity of cancel culture puts comedy films at risk to cause uproar, either immediately or years from now when people just decide the jokes are problematic. And combine that with no multiple streams of revenue to make back the investment, comedy films are a huge risk that most major studios simply aren't willing to take anymore. So you're just gonna have to find something else to laugh at.
White Castle, holy shit. Harold and Kumar Go White Castle. Haven't seen that one in a long time. W Video, Patrick CC, as fucking always. I agree. Wait a minute. All right, WVid patch. Sorry, bro. I'll see you next Monday, and I'll see y'all next Tuesday.